UN Environment tries to be the voice of the environment in the UN system, and the core role of the UN system is the preservation of international peace and security. So we see our role as identifying core environmental risks as they relate to peace and security. We don't get involved in conflict prevention, conflict mediation ourselves, but we try and work with the bits of the UN that are responsible for identifying, preventing and resolving conflict. So we try and encourage sort of organs of the UN like the UN Security Council, the UN General Assembly, and other parts of the UN to really think about how climate change can play a role in international peace and security, and what we can do to resolve some of the core issues that climate change is creating in terms of peace and security. So that involves working with entities like the Peacebuilding Support Office, the Department for Peacekeeping Operations, to think about how they can integrate climate approaches more effectively into their work.
The way we confront these risks is really not that different from how we would have confronted these risks in the past. So it's basically strengthening community resilience. It's helping people resolve local conflicts. And in the end, strengthening societies, not just by large-scale infrastructure at the national scale to deal with these abstract long-term changing risks, but particularly strengthening communities locally.
And as you know, many of our member states are very worried about the implications in terms of migration. So for the EU, it's a question of connecting the dots. We've got a lot of tools already available. We work on humanitarian affairs. Our DJ ECHO is extremely good at assessing risk and proposing response measures. Our development cooperation is also working on the longer term addressing and mainstreaming climate change in all of its programming. And at the same time, the EEAS, coming from a conflict perspective, is integrating climate change as an element of instability and risk in its assessments. So I think there is a lot of progress. It's still as an impressionist painting. We've got pieces and bits and touches of color being connected more and more. And I think behind that, the global strategy that Mrs. Mogherini released in June of this year provides a blueprint for integrating these different elements, climate, security, but also implementation of Paris.
So we have a G7 working group on climate and fragility. It's the G7 foreign ministries that operate this group. And we started this process in 2013 already. And in 2016, we delivered a report to the G7 foreign ministers on the nexus between climate, fragility, stability, and security. And the report says clearly that there is a nexus, that climate change is a risk multiplier. And on the energy and climate front, we would like to make sure that the G20 plays an active role in delivering the SDGs and the Paris Agreement. And we want a more coherent approach in the G20 to energy and climate policy. So far there is an energy sustainability working group, a climate sustainability working group under the G20. We want them also to meet together and to deliver to the heads of state and government a G20 energy and climate action plan that has to do with long-term decarbonization plans, helping to deliver the Paris Agreement in connection with other countries, for example, the so-called NDCs, nationally determined contributions, and a number of other very interesting initiatives.